Hey, how's it going, everybody? Lawler here. It is officially the end of the trade window. January 2nd has basically cut that all off. So now rosters have to be solidified. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be announced, but a lot of teams have announced them. We'll be seeing more and more trickle through, and you're over the course of this week and probably next week gonna have videos from me basically detailing in pairings and in groups of a bunch of rosters that have been announced. Today is primarily North American focused because there was a lot. So with that said, let's jump right into it. What's up, everybody? Lawler here. Going to be talking about NA roster changes, and I think there's one from South America in here as well. These are grouped together. There's a bunch of them. In a couple days, we'll end up doing one about Europe and stuff, as well as those continue to develop. But keep in mind, there is some rumors as well. For those that do not know, Smash.gg is where all the official tournament signups are held. So there are some hints at some of the teams. There's a lot more in Europe than there is in North America, but giving us kind of a general inclination of what some of these rosters may be. We'll talk about those as we go through. So with that said, first and foremost, we're going to talk about Team Nefarious. They've announced that they're keeping their roster the exact same. They say same roster, better performance with Adam, Hawk, and Buddy. That is going to remain the exact same. So no crazy things there. What is crazy, though, is a longtime player that used to play for the Sonics in Jruss, formerly known as Chicken, is back. Manzana, which is Apple in Spanish, is going to be joined by Luke, the former player who was supposed to be this up-and-comer for Ghost Gaming, and Apollo. We'll go with Paulo. Jruss used to be known as Chicken, which is Pollo in Spanish, but it's Paulo. I feel bad for every team that's got to cast them because they're going to butcher that just as many times as I did. But Luke coming back in addition with Jruss and Paulo should be interesting to see on how it plays out. I did mention that there was one South American announcement, and this one is kind of weird for me. They ended up putting out a tweet for Noble saying, hey, let's give a warm welcome to our newest additions to our Rocket League team, Bruno and Math. And I look at this and I go, well, wait, what about their current roster? What's happening with their current roster? Why haven't we heard anything about what's going on? And all the rosters tend to point towards that Bruno's going to be their new coach and Math is replacing Jafino, who replies to this and doesn't really get a whole lot of information. There was even a tweet that says, where's Jafino's farewell? And he just replied to it with the letter F to pay respects. So I don't know what happened with Noble and what the situation is here and why Jafino's just kind of like, okay, later, see you next time. But yeah, really weird scenario with this. So hopefully Noble figures out what the heck's going on. Hopefully they do give, Jafino a proper send-off, or maybe something's going on behind the scenes that we don't know. But Noble switching up the roster, trying to be a team that can push back into that top 2 spot. Up next is going to be Torrent. Torrent also has announced that they are keeping their same roster as well, with Magic Bear, Jordan, and Kinsey, with Dapper as a sub and Mystic as the coach. They have a pretty cheeky post on their YouTube saying no shift here, implying like shift RL esports kind of situation. But the squad is here to stay. So a little bit of tongue-in-cheek there, but they are keeping the roster identical, and hopefully they can continue to improve, as they've been known as ideally like a gatekeeper team and the only team that version 1 tends to beat consistently. So then again, 2 times isn't a whole lot. Now we get into the spicy stuff, what everybody's been waiting, everybody's been debating on, and how things are going to go and where it's going to end up. This one actually comes from Carlos, the owner of G2, also known as Ocelot. If you guys stopped by my stream, twitch.tv/Lawler, where I stream every day, but like Tuesday and Sunday, I talked about the inside and like behind the scenes of my first time meeting Ocelot and how poorly I botched that. But Carlos, obviously a very animated dude, talks about the excitement of welcoming Atomic into the G2 family. Both Atomic and dreaz are basically clean handshake, swapping rosters. So Atomic is going from Envy over to G2, which I think he's wanted to do for quite a while now. And dreaz is going over to Envy, which they haven't scrimmed each other yet, which is pretty surprising. Based upon the people that told me from the inside, this change came very rapidly. This was a very quick put together thing. And because of the deadline and everything else going and people waiting for certain players to shift, this one came together last minute and was a very, very quick announcement and a quick put together. So I'm curious on what the roster details and the trade details were based on buyouts and everything else, but possibly a clean handshake, like, yeah, we'll just trade straight up. But interesting to see how this one develops, especially with kind of the things that were made public about it. So in addition to this, you do see both Chicago and Jknaps talk about it. Chicago mostly in detail, I would say. He puts out a tweet longer discussing the thoughts about dreaz and the ability that he brought in and the professionalism and all that kind of stuff, and has a lot of really good things to say, which is awesome to see about a former teammate. Jknaps does have a much lesser approach to it, but a funnier one in my opinion. He says, welcome Atomic to the squad. Super excited to have him on the team. If you can't score on him, poach him, which I think is absolutely hilarious. So both of them giving a very brief insight. Chicago obviously talking more in detail about the former teammate, which is really cool. There has been some insight, like I mentioned, about how this has been confirmed that they have yet to scrim with dreaz. Envy has yet to try him out and see how this is going to play, which it makes me a little bit concerned, because if you are signing a player you've never played with before, hopefully it leads to success, but you just don't know. Turbopolsa also on his stream talked about a little bit more insight to this. If you guys haven't seen that Turbopolsa stream, I'll have links down below, but he talks a lot about the upcoming situation and is asked a lot of questions about how things happened. He provides insight on Daniel and approaching them. He talks about Sypical, then he also talks about Beast Mode. An easier way to do it, here's it all curated back to back to back. Should be about a minute. Take a look.
Did you guys talk to Daniel? Yeah, we talked to Daniel, and Daniel literally told us to off. Not really, but I took it like that. Mist asked Sip, like I'm literally quoting right now. I'm literally quoting everyone. If you had to join us, would you hate your life? And Sip literally says, yeah, like yeah. And Mist replies, word. Like, like, we thought of getting Beast Mode, like we talked to him, but there's always communication is key in everything. Let's just say that.
So obviously last thing Turbo talks about is Beast Mode, so let's talk about where Beast Mode is going. Officially announced earlier in the night as well, right after the G2 Envy stuff went down, Beast Mode has been announced officially to version 1. And a lot of people look at this and talk about the Shopify Rebellion situation, him leaving, and the situation he put them in, and then going to version 1, and then not, and then trying out for Envy, and then going back, and them still signing him. This is one of those where a lot of people don't know what the full story behind the scenes. I will see if I can make that public. But again, there's a lot of details and a lot of moving parts and things behind the scenes that people do not know about. So while I agree the situation and how he handled the whole Shopify Rebellion situation isn't the most ideal, there is reasons why certain things happen. And again, if version 1 is willing to sign and, you know, sign off on the contract, then if they're willing to accept it, so should everybody else. But again, make your own decisions, make your own opinion on it. But Beast Mode is officially going to version 1 in place of Gimmick, where Gimmick is going to be over to Oxygen. It's going to be a domino effect here. So Gimmick gets replaced by Beast Mode. Gimmick ends up and goes and replaces Kraziks on Oxygen, where they state with Gim's veteran status and championship pedigree, we're confident he will take our team to the next height or new heights. The biggest part about this one as well is also reuniting with his former coach on Cloud9 in Sad Jr. So hopefully some camaraderie there and familiarity, which will allow them to be successful. Oxygen has been a team that has been struggling to continue show top 16, top 8. Hopefully Gimmick will provide that new energy and bring them there. Because Kraziks got let go and replaced on Oxygen, he is now joining Kansas City Pioneers because Kranovi has officially retired. So Kansas City Pioneers' new roster is going to be Wannamike, Mektos, and Kraziks, formerly of Oxygen, with Aeon as the sub. Kranovi did put out a tweet longer about his retirement and everything else. We've got a full video dedicated to that tomorrow. So make sure you guys stay tuned to that. Make sure you guys hit subscribe so you don't miss out on it. I did mention that obviously on Smash GG, there is a bunch of different rosters as well about how things have been locked in or confirmed because of sign-up pages. But again, until I see it officially from Rogue or from these other rosters, we still don't know what's happening with Illusion. As of right now, it does look like Aqua is potentially going to Rogue in place of Torrent. But there is times where rosters do get a little bit of leniency. You can take a look at, prime example, Beast Mode when he got signed to Kansas City Pioneers originally, where even though he was underage, they allowed him to sign early. Sometimes these rosters will reach out to Sonics and say, hey, we need a little bit of time for these things before we make it official. Is that okay? So while Smash is usually pretty accurate because it is the qualifier sign-up location, it's not always 100%. So although likely it does seem like Aqua is going to Rogue in place of Torrent, it is not 100% yet until we get confirmation from Rogue or the players themselves. Still hold a little bit of a question mark around it. The other conversation has definitely been around, obviously, Illusion. What is happening with him? Where is he going? What's the situation? And that applies towards Space Station, which I can tell you, Space Station is waiting to make an announcement because their player is going currently to the headquarters in Utah for Space Station, where they can do an announcement video and better quality images and announcement stuff. Very likely that Sypical will be going to FaZe, not official just yet. And then again, Illusion, Has hinted he wants to go coach, possibly retire, doesn't know. We'll have to wait and see. I still think he's way too talented, similar to the Roldes situation. Hopefully he finds a new roster and gets to compete, but we'll have to wait and see. That is only half of the current roster stuff. We still got to talk about all of Europe, which I'll be doing in a later video because there is just so many and some things still need to develop. So with that said, if you guys do enjoy the content and staying up to date, this has been mostly North America stuff with Kronovi tomorrow because Kronovi deserves his own video 100% and it's an important one. And then we'll also be talking about Europe later in the week. So if you want to make sure you don't miss out on that, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, leave any questions, comments, concerns, or new developments in the comments down below. And we'll see you in the next one.